Well, hello everyone, and hello Ashley.
Hi, Lee.
Welcome to the show, and Ashley is going to fill in as our guest host for this evening. So, welcome. We're really glad you're here with us.
Thank you, Lee. It's great to be here. Thanks for having
Yeah,
us.
yeah, and Destiny has been traveling, and I think has traveled. Things have happened, and Destiny may join us later. So, just want to throw that out there. But this show is there's two things with this show. So the first, it is closing out Pride Month, and we have been doing Pride episodes this whole entire month of June, and it's been awesome and it's been great. And I've learned a lot, and I know a lot of other people have learned a bunch. And this is also our season finale of Just Talk Live. So we are going to be taking a break in July and August, and we will be back with you in September. Just like any show, it needs a little break. So just throwing all that out there. And yeah, I'm really excited for this episode tonight. And Ashley, I'll just invite you also to introduce yourself and lead into introducing our guest, maybe.
Thank you for that, Lee. And also, I hope that wherever Destiny is right now, that she's traveling safely. I feel like every time I come on, Destiny is traveling. So here's hoping she's doing all right. So my name is Reverend Ashley DeTar Birt. My pronouns are she and hers, and I wear many hats. But I will say that I'm an ordained pastor, and specifically, I am the program coordinator for an organization called Beloved Arise. Beloved Arise is an organization for LGBTQ, mostly Christian youth of faith. And we exist to encourage, empower, and uplift them, to make sure that they know that God loves them and that there is no contradiction between being a queer or trans person and being a person of faith, that those two things are totally compatible and that they are indeed beloved. And today is a very, very special day. I'm so glad to be able to join you. I'm so glad that Lee and Destiny helped make today possible. Today is our second annual Queer Youth of Faith Day. And Queer Youth of Faith Day was created as a way for Beloved Arise to be able to celebrate Pride. Last year, they were trying to figure out what a good way for the organization to be able to do that was. And they wanted to be able to uplift the people that they worked with, but not only just Christian youth, but all youth of faith, and to find a way to really honor and celebrate those young people in recognition of the fact that they are truly beloved for their total and full selves, for their faith, for their gender identity, for their gender expression, for their sexual orientation, for all of the things that make them who they are. And so this is our second year celebrating that. And we've been doing things all throughout the day. We've had Bible studies, panels. We just came off of having affinity groups for the young people. We have sort of a musical event coming up later. We even have a podcast. And so we've been doing all these things, trying to celebrate and uplift and even remember the history of the amazing things that queer young people of faith have been able to do. And so I'm just so happy to be here tonight on Just Talk Live. And I have been a queer young person. I am no longer a queer young person. And so I'm happy to be here with some actual queer young people who can talk about their experiences and what it's like for them, and have them be celebrated on this lovely, awesome day. And so I just want to say thank you, Lee, for that, and to bring people on. Thank you for that. And I can't wait to hear what they have to say.
Awesome, yeah, and it is so great to. I too was a queer young person, and if I had had any type of thing like Beloved Arise, and if I knew anything about Queer Youth of Faith Day, I think it would have transformed my life in many, many ways. So I am really excited to be a part of this and to also welcome our guest for this evening. So we are going to welcome Eli and Tobias to the show. So welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome, welcome. So, yeah, we're just going to invite you to introduce yourselves. And yeah, anything you want to tell the folk out there about who you are and where you are and your pronouns and all those things. And we should say ours. I'm Lee Cato. I use pronouns he, him. And yeah, we'll invite you to introduce yourself. We'll start with Tobias.
Hi, I'm Tobias. Y'all can call me Toby for short. My pronouns are he and they, and I'm from the state of North Dakota.
Awesome. And we were talking
Yes.
to Toby earlier, and we were like, we've never been to the Dakotas, so we're gonna have to make a trip there. We have to make a trip to the Dakotas because I've heard they're beautiful.
Yeah. It
And
can be
Eli.
quite beautiful up here.
Good.
Hi, I'm Eli. My pronouns are they and he, and I am calling from the great state of Texas.
Texas. I have been to Texas though.
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
something.
it is a pretty big state. It's pretty hard to miss if you're going to do any traveling.
Very true. Very, very true. And so on these shows all throughout this month, we've been starting out asking our guests, since this is Pride Month, like what pride means to you. As a young person or as a queer person, what does this time of the year and this month mean to you? And well, listen, as the Spirit leads you, whoever wants to start as the Spirit leads. And Ashley, you can jump in too.
I guess I'll go first. And I know for me, pride means kind of like a moment to really be intentional about celebrating my queer identity and really like reflecting on the past year as I've been out for over a year now and really just figuring out what's changed in the past year, kind of like a moment of reflection. I think of it kind of like a New Year's for being queer a little bit of like, these are maybe some of the things that I want to try. These are the things that I haven't really thought about yet that I want to try and look forward to in the next coming year before June comes around again.
Okay, so to me, pride means remembering like the people who have given us pride from like the Stonewall riots, how it just all started with a few trans women of color. And to me, I remember that those women who had to literally fight to the death for the rights we have now today. And I look back on how hard it was for those women to give us what we have now. And it's just a really meaningful time for me.
Yeah, I love both of those answers. I love how much reflection is in those. When I think about Pride, in particular, like Pride Month, yeah, I think I totally agree. I think that it's so incredibly important to look back and remember like how we got here. I use Pride Month as a month of celebration, but I also use it as time to like reflect and remember that like we wouldn't be able to celebrate anything if it wasn't for like specifically trans women of color who literally like fought tooth and nail for any of us to have any of these rights. And so I like to think about where we came from and those people, and then also like looking forward and looking at like you all and like wonder like what's going to be next, and like what do I have to continue to fight for to make sure that you don't have to fight those same fights over and over and over again? And like looking at you all and imagining like how is the world going to be transformed into something even more beautiful by like your generation and the next generation after that. And so I like using Pride as a time to think about where we've been and also where we're going. And also just to take a little bit of time to celebrate the fact that like we're here. Like we have made it this far, because that's something to celebrate.
Yeah, this might be probably one of my favorite. This episode isn't over, but I think it might be one of my favorites because I do think it's a great way to be able to kind of say, yeah, we're here, and there are generations. I am on the older end of the millennial generation, and now we have Generation Z or whatever they're calling the younger folk now, and it is a great way to think about what has been and what is going to be, and how we can also in some ways be led by young people. And I wonder, Eli and Toby, like for the young folk out there, who may be like going through like trying to figure things out and things like that, the ways in which your experience kind of helps other people open their minds to also kind of figure things out. And I wonder what, as a young person, what are you seeing right now, like in like the queer community and being a person of faith too? Like how do we keep moving forward? Because I'm always wanting people to hear the voices of young folk and what we should be doing to kind of keep moving forward. So what do y'all say to that?
So I gotta say, for like the people around my age, for like to keep on going, like I get it's like rough trying to fully accept yourself sometimes, and I get where it's like so confusing some days to be like waking up like is this label fit me, or does this fit me? Like I don't know if this fits me anymore. And for that, I like to say that you don't have to fit a certain label. You can fit under multiple labels or not have a label at all. Like you don't one thing define you. You are a unique person that God created perfectly, and God doesn't want you to be just like the rest of everyone else. So if you find that you're a mix of so many labels or none at all, that's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with having many labels or no labels. And that's something I had to learn within the past year, that it doesn't matter if you have a million labels or no labels to define you. You are completely perfect as you are.
I know for me, kind of echoing what Toby said, I think that like patience with yourself and trying to figure yourself out, especially as you are a youth and just in general, people are trying to figure themselves out in their teens and things. Just like patience with yourself. Like you might try something on one day and like decide that, hey, like this really isn't for me, or like decide that you actually really like something, and just like being willing to work with yourself and figuring out what you like as far as like gender expression and sexuality and all of those things, and really just being open to the whole process.
Yeah, that's great. And Ashley can probably chime in on this a little bit. How has faith kind of been a part of this whole journey for y'all. I know a lot of the times in the queer community, when you're a person of faith, you kind of, in my experience, people are like, huh? Like that doesn't, I don't know. Some people don't think those things can mix. So I wonder how faith also plays a part in all of this for you. And Ashley, you might. Oh, go ahead, Eli.
I was just gonna say, like, I know for me, my queerness has kind of helped inform my faith in that it's really helped me take a critical look at like all the things that I've been taught and really like ask hard questions, and kind of like my identity as a person, just kind of as my theology, I think through it, I just like become more open-handed about it. Like this thing may be true, it may not be, and we may never know, or we might find out for sure, and all of these possibilities are okay.
Ashley or Toby, anybody want to chime in on that?
Yeah, sure. I was actually on a call before this, just saying that in my coming out journey, part of my recognition of that I am a queer person, and that is okay, was coming to the realization that I am a queer person, and it was like on purpose. Like this isn't just a thing that happened to me in spite of like all the other parts of who I am, but this is something that like God did intentionally. And I very much believe that my queerness and the recognition of my queerness and the understanding of my queerness is something that has brought me closer to God, because it has made me understand myself better, and therefore understood something about God better than I've ever understood anything. And I feel like the better that I understand my identities, the closer I get to God. And so when I think about faith, and I think about like I don't necessarily believe in like this capital T absolute truth. I think that there are lots of things that can possibly be true, and I think like questioning is extraordinarily important. But when I think about things that can be true about myself and my faith, the ability to examine my identities, examine my queerness, and to consider the ways that my identity exists and flows and changes is something that is a very spiritual experience. It's a very faith-filled experience. And when I look at the other like queer and trans people in my life, particularly the young people, I see like the fluidity and like motion of the spirit within all of them. And that's something that like I don't have a word for that besides like holy. And I think that brings us all closer to God. And so I believe that for those who are people of faith, that acknowledging their journey of gender or their journey of sexuality or what have you is a spiritual act in and of itself.
Yeah, and I think oftentimes it's so compartmentalized. Like our gender expressions or our sexualities and our faith is kind of always separated. And in my experience, it's all just kind of been a very fluid type of this, all integrated, and it's all kind of mixed around within each other, and that is the beauty of it. But I did want to talk a little bit about Beloved Arise, and I wonder from Eli or Toby to just talk about what that is, but also like what you're doing within it and what you've gotten from it. A lot of people that may be watching, we have a array of people that watch this show, and some people may not know about Beloved Arise. And so, yeah, tell us what it is and kind of like, yeah, what you've gotten from the program and the organization. Yeah, and either one of you can kind of have a little ad for Beloved Arise, maybe. A little disclaimer. Eli, you want to start us off and then we'll go to Toby? Is that cool?
Yeah, that'll work. I know for me, Beloved Arise in particular is like a community of people, that would be like the first way I would describe it, that are all trying to figure out what it means to love God and also love our queerness at the same time, and really like learn to embrace those things together, and together like within ourselves and also with each other. And kind of one of the primary ways that plays out is we have a youth group called Rebel, and we meet every Monday. And for people in like different time zones that's not necessarily American, there's also a Thursday youth group that meets. And so all of these things where we just have opportunities to come together with each other and people who also want to consider things about faith and our queerness, and really just like contemplate with each other what God is speaking to us and how we can learn from each other in this.
So Beloved Rat is like, it's honestly a really good affirming Christian group, supports both the Christian side, queer side of everything. Like the youth group, as Eli said, is called Rebel, and it's been very, very interesting for me. So we do meet up on Mondays at like 6 p.m. Pacific Coast, I think, if I can remember that correctly. And then there's also Thursday night youth groups for the people who live in like where it's like really late, where it gets really late during the youth group, and just can meet Thursday nights where it's easier for them to actually go and stuff. And my experience from Rebel is that I don't have to hide myself in a Christian environment. I don't have to hide my queerness or pretend I'm just some cishet person trying to fit in a place where I know I don't really belong. And Rebel has given me the opportunity to really open myself as a queer Christian, and it's helped me. It's helped me learn a lot more about God from a queer perspective. And I will say that I really do enjoy that. I
Awesome. So it sounds like it's a space to kind of to be who you are, be who God created you to be, and not have to, not have to worry about, fitting in any kind of mold or any kind of heteronormative kind of way. Um, and Ashley, I wonder how, so we speak sometimes to the Presbyterian tradition, and I wonder how we can kind of spread this message about a different way to do youth ministry, and what that may look like. And someone on YouTube asked, how do I join Rebel, or how do I get involved? And we can answer that. You can answer that within in the question I'm asking you, but yeah, someone asked about how to get involved, but how do we kind of change this? Yeah, the idea around how do we do youth ministry?
Yeah, well, I'll sort of answer that question and the question asked on YouTube. I'll start with the same answer, which is the pastor who's in charge of our youth group is a guy named Pastor Scott, who's awesome. And Pastor Scott is the one who you're going to want to get in touch with if you want to join up on Rebel. You can do that either through our website, www.beloved.arise.org, or if you go to beloved_arise on Instagram, or I think it's beloved_rebel. I think both are on Instagram. If you reach out to either of those or our website, you'll be able to get more information on the youth group. Scott is also a youth pastor. He's from the Presbyterian tradition. So in a way, like, Rebel is ecumenical, but it is coming from a Presbyterian sensibility. So like, it's not impossible for that to happen within Presbyterian spaces. And I've had the honor of getting to guest speak at Rebel. I've gotten the honor to come visit a couple of times. And like, it's a youth group. Like, if you've ever been to a youth group, that is what it feels like. It just happens to all be happening on Zoom. But like, there's games, there's prayer, there's worship. Somebody talks or gives a sermon of some kind. Like, people have discussion. Usually there's some kind of Bible or something like that. So like, it's not necessarily that difficult to shift from like things that you're already doing. It's just a matter of sort of like how you're doing them. So like, when you're doing these groups, what kind of things are you taking into consideration? Like, are you I want to say safe space. Like, there's no such thing as a truly safe space, but like, are you trying to take precautions so that the space is as safe as possible? Are you using pronouns? Are you respecting those pronouns? If somebody accidentally uses the wrong pronouns or uses the wrong words, do you have a way to like correct that without making it a huge deal, but just like making sure that it gets corrected in a respectful manner? Do you have any kind of policy on how do you handle bullying? Do you are the leaders doing research and making sure that they know things so they don't have to expect the youth to constantly be teaching them things? And I'm not saying that like you can't learn something from youth. People learn from youth all the time. I know Scott learns from the youth all the time. But there's a difference from like learning because you're learning and expecting them to teach you things because you don't want to learn something in your privilege. But are you educating yourself? Are you trying and putting in that effort? I've said this a million times, but people love to talk about like, oh, we're going to invite people to the table and that's how we're going to change things. No, break down the table. Break down the table, bring people in, build a new table. And so when you're like thinking about youth group, like, you can have your youth group, but like, how do you build it together? And how do you build it with your youth and make it indeed youth-centered and make it as inclusive as possible and as respectful as possible and as welcoming as possible? And just considering what kind of education do you have to do? What kind of thought do you have to put into it ahead of time? What kind of protocol do you have to have? What kind of covenant do you have to have? I think those are just some of the things that you can do that if you actually put that effort in, you can have a space that will be at least somewhat more welcoming and inclusive. And I think if you do that while also listening to the youth who are involved and checking in with them and making sure that if something happens that you are indeed acting pastoral and listening, then you can actually like do something and make sure that it is indeed, like I said, not safe, because nothing is ever truly, truly safe, but safer. I hope that Toby and Eli would agree with me on that. If not, I'm open to being corrected because, like I said, listening is important.
Toby and Eli, yeah, I would like to know what your favorite part of your time with Rebel is. Yeah, what are some favorite aspects of that for you?
Um, One of my favorite things about Rebel are the small group that we break out into before each service. And the reason why I like these small groups so much is because we go to connect with a few, like with a smaller group, and we each small group meets how it is a week, but you get to connect with other queer people in a smaller environments and get to share you guys' week and how you've gone through it, and you just get to be closer to some of the students and rebels so you don't feel terribly left out from everyone. And I guess hearing other people's stories helps me with my own life. It helps me with my daily life, and I get to help other people. And this is how God within there, and all of this I find really interesting. And at the end of the day, it's just feels so nice to know that I am not alone within the whole Rebel Youth group. That I am having my own battles with being queer and being in the Christian community, and also facing the same that I am in their own way.
And I know for me, kind of my favorite part of Rebel is our worship that we do. Our worship is a lot of, not necessarily we would think of as like Christian songs, but they're songs that like you would hear, like if you heard them on Spotify or something, you would definitely be like drawn into a more contemplative state, but not necessarily something that's like explicitly singing about God, but something that could maybe just invite you to contemplate your life or contemplate what God is doing in your life without maybe even necessarily like talking about God explicitly.
Yeah, I like the idea of, yeah, I like the small groups and um, that more intimate space of getting to talk with one another. Whenever I was in youth group, we we I grew up in a very small town in South Carolina, and we didn't have many people in our youth group. There was a tiny group of us, but I always liked that because it was smaller and you got to know people um, and share stories and everything like that. Um, so yeah, and I hope whoever is listening, and I'm really glad someone asked, how do I join this group? And I hope we can spread that message even more as to how people can get involved in this awesome organization. But I did also want to ask, and I meant to ask this at the beginning, but it just kind of slipped my mind. And it may be a good way for us to kind of go into like a closing. I don't want to, but what does being queer mean to you? Um, and and yeah, what does that mean for you as a person, or as a person of faith, or as a young person? Um, yeah. What does it mean to you?
I know me, queerness means like
Well, I guess
like breaking boundaries.
Go ahead, Elias. That's good.
Okay, sorry, Tobias. I'll give you a second. I know for me, like queerness means that like it's a breaking of boundaries and a blurring of lines, and really just like looking at these things that we've grown up with and maybe we realize we don't quite fit into, and saying that's not the only way of existing and being in the world, and that there are these other possibilities that we can like do and be in our lives, and really just questioning boundaries is one of the biggest things for me.
Sorry, completely talking over earlier, Eli. My computer is leggy with everything. So yeah. So with me and what queer means to me, I just really have a definite to me, I guess one of the things that it means to me is that I don't really have to, I guess for me, it's one of the reasons to me it means is that I am different from other people, and that's okay. That it's okay not to always fit the what society says about you. And being queer to me that says that hey, you don't have to fit normal rules. Like normal rules weren't really made for everyone, and be who you want, not what society says about you, because you'll never be able to fully fit what society says about you. And to me, I struggled with that for a while. Actually, for quite a while. I'm still kind of struggling with that, but just don't have to fit what other people say about you because they don't know the full you, and only you know that. And so, do follow the rules that help you grow and learn, and that will help you in life for the long run.
And Ashley, what does queer mean to you?
Mm, that's a tricky one. Yeah, I feel like when it comes to society, when it comes to faith, when it comes to a lot of things, I feel like we're very tracked human beings, that a lot of life is a lot of people trying to put you on very specific roads or tracks, or say that like you are supposed to be a specific way. And I think that queerness is the desire and action of just breaking away from that and saying that whatever the path that is set for you by an outside force is not necessarily the path that you are called to or that you are meant to be on. And so if this is the road, queerness is everything else. And it's just the wideness and vastness of opportunity and ability and choice that we have to live into our fullest selves, recognizing that we don't have to live into the world that society says that we have to live into, or that the church says, that the capital C church, not any specific church, says that we have to live into, but rather that we can figure out what the fullest, freest expression of ourselves are by exploring just the spectrum of everything else, and recognizing, that there, not even that there don't have to be rules, that there just aren't. The rules were things that got made up, and that they just don't have to be. And if anything, the only rule that really has to exist is just don't hurt anyone. And beyond that, we have a great amount of freedom in how we are and who we live, or who we live as and how we live, and just figuring out whatever the truest form or forms of ourselves may be.
Yeah. And yeah, queerness, I like that. I like that it's everything else. And it should be like, yeah, everything else. And I love that image. Well, this has been a wonderful time with y'all. And I am very grateful for this time. And I think y'all are wonderful and divine. I love using the word divine. It has many, many meanings. There was a drag queen named Divine back in the day, and that just kind of connects it for me. It is y'all are just divine and wonderful. But I did want to plug again, Beloved Arise, and I put the website in the comments. And so, the person who asked on YouTube, just go to that website, and I think you can find where to get connected with that. And anyone else who wants to get connected with Beloved Arise, just it's in the comments. You can click the link. But I did want to end our time together just asking y'all for some last comments, whatever is burning on your hearts. Whatever you want to get out there before you get off the screen. So yeah, inviting you for last comments, whoever wants to start to end us.
I'd like to say thanks for having me on. This was honestly something that I've been looking forward to for the last few weeks. When Pastor Scott from Rebel asked me if I wanted to be a part of this, and I just been really happy about coming on here and just talking to you all. And yeah, I will say that when school starts back up again, I will tell so many people about this. And yeah, it's just a fun experience for me. Something.
Yeah, Toby, you're a rock star. You're a rock star. Anyone else with last comments? Eli, you got any closing words? Ashley?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Lee, for having us, and a huge thank you to Eli and to Toby for being on today. Thank you for being willing to do this and for taking time out of your days to be here. Because like without you, this is not possible. Like literally, this is why we do the work. This is like you are why we're here. You're why Beloved Arise exists. You're why Queer Youth of Faith Day is a thing. And so I'm just so incredibly thankful, and I feel blessed getting to be on a call with you. So thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thank all of y'all, and I am truly blessed as well. And I hope this gets shared everywhere. So share it with your friends. We got some comments on the YouTube, some heart emojis. Y'all are amazing. So yeah, everybody check out belovedarise.org, get connected, and know that you're loved. Whoever is watching this, you are loved and you are made in God's image, and we love you. And so reminder that Just Talk Live is taking a break. Praise the Lord, for 2 months. So July and August, we will be taking a break. And we will be back in the fall. Destiny sends her love. Destiny is fine. Just got caught in a storm, but Destiny sends her love, and we will see you in the fall. Thank y'all again.